Over my years of high school and university, I feel as though I have mastered the way to ace a memorization-heavy exam, even if you cram for it literally the night before. The great thing about a truly memorization-based exam over an application-based exam is that you really don't have to understand any concepts. As long as you're able to get all of that information to stick in your brain for about 12 hours, you're set. And then afterwards, it probably will slip away because you're not doing it over spaced time, but we're just really here to cram for an exam. So step number 1 is to create a plan. When you're prepping for an exam, I know it can feel very overwhelming and feel like there's just so many details and everything's important, but that is far from the truth because not all information is treated equally in classes. And you can almost apply the 80-20 rule, which is a rule that applies in a lot of things in life, which is basically that 20% of your efforts result to 80% of your results. Now, I wouldn't quite go to the extent saying that only 20% of your content results to 80% of your grade, but there are certainly certain things that are more important than others in your class. So then obviously the big question is, well, how do I know what information is important? And honestly, most of the time, your teacher or professor straight up tells you. Oftentimes, a class or two before the test or exam, your teacher or professor will go over what to expect on the exam, and they'll go over like what units to focus on, what chapters of the textbook, which slides of theirs to focus on. But even if they don't break it down to that extent, I'm sure they're giving you some sort of outline and guide. Also go back to your course syllabus because sometimes there's information about your exams on there. Another way to identify and pinpoint high yield information is to look at any study materials that your teacher or professor has provided, such as study guides, practice questions, etc. There's a reason that they particularly handpick those things for you to practice, so make sure to focus on those. Once you've identified those highest yield topics, you're going to want to consider what your pre-existing knowledge of each one of those topics is. I find it often looks one of two ways. Number one, the topics that you first covered in class are the ones that you know best because you've just had so much time to study them. Or number two, you remember the things that you've learned most recently in class because they're freshest in your mind. Stuff that you learned like 2 months ago is long gone. Let's say you have 5 high yield topics, maybe that's 5 different chapters. Instead of splitting your time equally between all 5, you're going to want to dedicate more time on the ones that you feel less comfortable with and you know a lot less of. And you're also going to want to start with those ones. Even though I know it's uncomfortable and it's very easy to start with the things you already know, it won't result to as good results if you do it the other way around. Step 2 is to choose your study strategies wisely. How you study is just as important as what you study. I find that most students, even when cramming, spend way too much time on passive learning techniques. This involves reading textbook pages, going over your lecture slides, or even rereading your notes. Instead, you're going to want to focus on active study techniques like flashcards and practice quizzes. Now, if you're thinking, okay, well, great, I'm cramming, I don't have time to be creating these things the night before. Look, I get you, so I'm going to put you onto something that will change the way that you study for the rest of your academic career. So it is this website here called StudyFetch.com, and it's essentially an all-in-one study website that has every single feature you could possibly imagine. Now let me show you exactly how I would cram for an exam using StudyFetch. The first thing that I would do, if I haven't already, is I would go to the upload button and I would drag and drop all of those high yield topics that we talked about. So maybe my professor said, okay, the last 4 lecture slides are what are most important for this exam. I would drag and drop them into the website just like that, and then hit upload 4 files. After that, I would go to the chat feature, and then I would click on this 0 materials and choose those 4 lecture slides that I wanted, that I uploaded, confirm selection, and I would ask Sparky, which is the AI tutor dog, to create something for me, whatever study materials that I want. Again, we want to do active learning. So personally, my favorite has always been flashcards. So I would ask Sparky, can you please
create a flashcard set from these materials?
Send. And as you can see, within literal seconds, Sparky has prompted me to create a flashcard set. So I'm just going to click that button, and then it's going to allow me to go to the flashcard set. And immediately it has generated this flashcard set. As you can see, it's still generating them, but I can already start practicing them. I can type in my answers, check my answers, and it's just such a great and easy, fast way to do active studying. Now, since we're already on the website, I'm actually going to show you some of the other great features that StudyFetch has that makes studying so much more interactive and fun than reading your textbook, in which again is not even an effective way to study. Particularly, I always like to shout out the arcade feature because this is so unique to StudyFetch. You can turn your files into games. So you can see here, there's the option to generate from materials. We can select the materials that are already uploaded. Once you've uploaded something into StudyFetch, it's already like in the system and you have to keep re-uploading it, which is great. So I'm going to click, let's say, lecture 6. You can select multiple as well. And I'm going to choose the City Run game because this one always reminds me of Subway Surfers, kind of just brings me back to my childhood. So it's just going to take a couple minutes to generate that game. Okay, the game is generated. I'm going to hit play game. It's loading here. This is always fun. You can choose the background. I'm actually going to lower my volume so you can, but there is music. I'm just going to mute it, but listen. Cool, right? But mute. Okay. I am going to, I can choose between suburbs, urban, industrial. Let's do suburbs today. And I'm going to put it in slow motion mode because it gives us a little bit more time to think of our answer before we die and lose life. So 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Okay. Oh my gosh, guys. This is actually an old class and I'm not currently studying this. So let's see if I remember this. Okay, I think it's GABA. I think it's the middle option. Okay, nice. Collect some more bones. Also, this new update, you have to like dodge rats, so it's kind of crazy. Okay, oh my gosh. Let's see, this one would be the purple. Okay, I'm gonna purposely die just so you guys can see. See, and then I lose a heart. And I can also always pause it, so I'm gonna pause it there. So as you can see, cramming for an exam does not have to be a miserable task and you can actually make it fun. Step 3 for cramming for an exam is to take strategic breaks. Although I know it can be tempting to just grind it out until you absolutely cannot study anymore because your eyes will not stay open, this is not the most effective way to studying because you are basically burn yourself out and you become less and less effective and the things won't stick in your brain so well. So I do recommend doing some sort of system. It doesn't have to be 25 minutes, 5-minute break. You can do whatever Pomodoro technique that you want, but it is important to take breaks away from your desk. You know, get up, stretch your legs. I know it's basic, but it will kind of jig your brain, your memory a bit more. Also, I'm big on naps. If you can, if you do trust yourself with a nap, take a 5, 10, even one hour nap is okay if it means it'll kind of jumpstart your brain and allow you to refocus on studying. And step 4, if you didn't already see it coming, it's to sleep. All-nighters have kind of become glorified within the study community. I don't know why, because they honestly do more harm than good. As someone who has pulled multiple all-nighters in the past to study, I can confidently tell you that the way that you perform makes a big difference. 0 versus even just 4 hours, 3 hours of sleep makes a big difference. So definitely get at least a few hours of shut-eye. On the internet here, so you know it's trusted, true information. It says that research shows that all-nighters can lead to as much cognitive impairment as being intoxicated and are compared to having 0.05 blood alcohol concentration in your body. Now, to wrap up this video, I'm not going to sit here and judge you and tell you, you know, in an ideal world, you would have done spaced repetition and not crammed the night before, because I think we all know that. Like, ideally, we would have studied spaced repetition throughout the semester, but sometimes it's just honestly not feasible. So if you do have to cram the night before, this is your guide. Follow these steps and you should at least pass the exam, and you can even do well. You can I have done these steps in the past and I have gotten like 70% plus. I probably forgot the information 24 hours after, but that's okay when we are just trying to cram for an exam. You guys got this. Thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.